Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome in to the AFC East Summit. I am your host for today, Sean Kula from Red, White, and Bills. Finally getting on here with the guys. Got my friend Chris from Pats Nation and Dolph fan Keith in the building with us tonight. We don't have the Jets representative again. I guess they're already in Super Bowl mode, so they're like, you know what? We don't gotta pay no mind to the bottom dwellers of the division. So this could be us three rocking with you today. And Chris, start with you. How you feeling, man?
I'm feeling good, feeling good. It's a shame I wasn't able to make it to the show yesterday. It looked like a lot of fun. Of course, I watched the channel, or sorry, I watched the episode later that evening. But I'm here, ready to show up and support as always.
Absolutely. Keith, what are you, man?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Fresh off of last night's victory, feeling
That was a
really
good
good.
one.
Thank you. Feeling less good about the recent signings by the Pats and the Jets, but still feeling strong as far as the Dolphins go.
Well,
Still,
yeah,
still feel confident.
we're gonna get into that. Before we continue, if you guys haven't checked it out yet, the trivia show last night was epic. Jake Podger was the host. Everybody did great. Keith was the victor. And again, some of the questions I was like, damn, I don't even know that, and I feel like a bad Bills fan now. But I knew some from each team. So, and I was playing around, putting wrong answers in the chat in case they were looking. But great time. Check that out.
It was a
Also,
it was a razor thin victory though, Sean. It
oh
was
yeah,
great competition.
oh yeah, and we're probably gonna do something else like that as well. And again, awesome time. Subscribe to the AFC Summit if you guys haven't yet. Like this video, share this to everybody you know, get everybody out here to support. Like and subscribe is click of a button, doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us go a long way. Also, if you could go to my channel, Red, White, and Bills, Nickel City Mafia, Go Bills Podcast, subscribe to them as well. Keith and Chris don't have their channels yet, but eventually they will, and we'll get supporting them as well. Before we get into everything else, we're going to talk about Brandon Shell retiring, Zeke signing, and Dalvin Cook. We're just going to start with Shell, get that done with quick, and then I'll get your guys' opinion after I'm done, and then we'll go into the signings. So I'm a Nationals fan. Most of you guys that watch me know. And this reminded me of Ryan Zimmerman, our first pick ever, Mr. National. When he retired, he came out and said, well, I knew when I was in spring training and my body didn't feel right and I was doing my off-season workouts that I knew it was time to hang up the cleats. I wanted to end it on a good note. And that's kind of what happened to Brandon Shell. He was like, you know what? I'm a couple weeks of camp, did a preseason bid. I just don't feel it anymore. And I respect that. He's not an old man, but he had his mileage in the NFL. And I respect that he gave it a shot and he felt, you know what? I don't think I can be what I want to be for this team. And he's going to hang it up. And, I respect him for it. And it's gonna stink trying to replace him as a backup, and whether people thought he was good or not, he had done some great things in the NFL. So good luck to you in your retirement, and you retired a Bill, so that's pretty cool, right? So Keith, I'll throw it over to you. How do you feel about Brandon Shell retiring?
Well, Brandon Shaw was a Dolphin last season, and he did a nice job for them in a fill-in capacity. He was a nice swing tackle. He did a decent job. Once again, I've said it before. He's not a guy you want to be taking a lot of reps for. You don't want to be playing week after week, game after game. But he was a nice depth piece for the Dolphins. He would have been a nice depth piece for the Bills. And I do wish him all the best. And I think that's going to hurt you guys in the long run. Just losing that kind of depth, because you know how it is on throughout an NFL season. Guys get hurt, and it becomes harder and harder to replace guys as the season goes on. So that has the potential to have some ramifications for you guys. Richard Goriage, Nickel City Mafia, commented Richard Goriage moves up a notch, absolutely, and he's gonna have to prove himself.
Oh yeah.
So, all the best to Brandon Shell. We'll see how that works out for you guys in the long run.
Oh yeah, definitely going to be a hit, but like you said, it gives the young guys a chance to step up, and even if they don't play right tackle, will they be willing to try to switch over from left to right and try to earn their way on the team, which could be good for someone who is a fringe or undrafted free agent player, possibly trying to make the roster. Chris, how do you feel about the Brandon Shaw retirement?
Well, me as for me, of course, what the game of football is one that's driven by love and passion. So if that's no longer in your heart and in your mind, then of course, hang it up is a good move. You don't want to be one of those guys who just kind of sit on the bench and just soak up money and just hope you never play, because there's plenty of them in the NFL. But on a other note, I mean, it's always good to see competitive, competition's line get weaker. So, one inexperienced player means that one of the seasoned veterans on the defensive line for the Patriots might have an easier chance getting through that line and hitting, and getting to Josh Allen. So that's how I feel about it. I always love to see it, love to see it. So I
Oh,
hope
yeah.
that just makes it that easier to get to Josh Allen this season.
Well, there's always a silver lining. But
Yeah.
yeah, we'll move on from Shell. Wish him nothing but the best, and I will see if we can replace him. But the exciting news in the AFC East: Dalvin Cook is now a New Jersey Jet, and Zeke Elliott is now a New England Patriot. I'm going to let Chris go first. Talk about Zeke, talk about Dalvin, then I'll hand it over to Keith, and I'll say my piece after. So, Chris, I know you're feeling
Listen,
good, man. Let's hear it.
listen, Zeke moving to the Patriots was a big, big deal. I know we've been talking about it. I've definitely been talking about it. Who's going to win that back position at the running back, depth chart? But now we see that we got a big pickup for the year. So Ramondre Stevenson stepped up big time last year. So undoubtedly, I think he's going to be our running back one. He has big play potential. But now that we have Zeke, so whenever Stevenson's tired, we got somebody who can, still pound it. If we got any, going to the goal line, they can have that dual threat that they always carried in the Patriots offense. So there's so many different possibilities, and it works well because now Bill O'Brien's gonna be able to open up that offense a little bit wider too. So we'll see how this goes. I'm really looking forward to it. Looking forward to what they, just how he's gonna gel in the offense. And it's unfortunate because Ezekiel Elliott, I feel like he had lost a step in the past few years. The switch inevitably led to Tony Pollard taking over most of the roles in Dallas and him losing his kind of starting position. But we'll see if he comes back. If that was anything to teach him in the offseason, maybe get him back in shape and get back that drive that he lost. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he fits in our offense. And as for
Beautiful.
did you want to go on
Yeah,
Dalvin Cook
go
as
ahead
well?
about Dalvin as well.
Dalvin Cook, I wish he would have signed anywhere else. I mean, of course, Dalvin Cook, he's probably one of the better backs in the league, and I hope he has a rough season. The Jets' offensive line, I don't think is anything too impressive, so I hope he kind of struggles in New Jersey, or New York rather. But yeah, I hope he struggles over there. But I don't know. I think that's a great pickup for the Jets. Like I said, they were plagued with injuries. Their star running back got hurt last season, so I think that's a big pickup. And while can't knock the move right there. So
Absolutely. Keith, how you feeling? You can pick whoever you want to go with first, but let's hear it, man.
Well, I'll start. I'll start with Chris. Dalvin Cook. I'm sorry, Zeke Elliott. Zeke Elliott, nice signing for you guys. You needed a backup running back behind Ramondre Stevenson. You really did. A proven guy who's been through all the battles, all the wars. And you know what? Zeke still has a little something left in the tank. I'm not saying he's the player he was, in his first few seasons in Dallas, but he still has something to offer a football team. In regards to what percentage he's going to play behind Ramondre, I would say he'll probably play maybe 20% of the snaps, and that ought to be good enough. He'll do some short yardage work for them. He can catch the ball out of the backfield a little bit. He's a really nice signing, a really nice complimentary piece to Ramondre Stevenson, and you got him at a nice salary too, a nice value. As far as Dalvin Cook's concerned, I know that the Dolphins were in on him and rumored to be going after him, rumored to have offered him a contract. But you know what? The price wasn't right for them, and the price was right for the Jets. They're clearly concerned about Breece Hall, and this allows the Jets to be able to work Breece Hall back into the lineup slowly, give him a more conservative snap count, and not have much of a drop off in play while Dalvin Cook's in there. So it was really a win-win for the Jets, which is a lose-lose for the Dolphins. But the Dolphins have lot of contracts to give out, namely Christian Wilkins. They need to pay Christian Wilkins, and they only have $13 million in cap room right now. It just didn't make sense for them to sign Dalvin Cook. That money needs to be spent elsewhere. And you know what? The Jets, the $8 million that the Jets are paying them, that wasn't an overpay for the Jets. It would have been an overpay for the Dolphins.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I was gonna say, not to interrupt you either, but I noticed you said that that they're gonna be working there with Brees Hall back into the offense coming off injuries. So
Yeah.
do we think, right? I was questioning for you. Do you think that Brees Hall is still gonna see some playing time while Dalvin Cook's in New York?
I do.
You do?
I do, but I think it's going to start off more of like a 75% to 25% snap count as they work Brees Hall back slowly. It just allows the Jets to be able to work back because Brees Hall is their future at running back.
The smartest thing to do is to let him come back as late as possible. Not because we don't want to face him, but really, not to cut you off again, Keith. But
no, of course, Sean.
As far as running backs go, really only Adrian Peterson had came back to be at least, or if not better than his level before after an ACL tear. And if they made I think it's a desperate move getting Dalvin Cook, but they got Dalvin Cook now. He can play for weeks and weeks and weeks. You get Brees Hall back, then you can start shifting the workload again, and then Brees Hall can get back in. But I'll save that for mine, so you can go ahead and finish up.
Well, no, I agree with what you're saying. I think that this allows the Jets to work Brees Hall back slowly. He is coming off an ACL, and it happened towards the middle part, of the season last year, which means he's not fully recovered. Anybody who thinks he is, well, is probably fooling themselves. He's still on the PUP list, the physically unable to play list. So there's a reason for that. There's a reason he hasn't really been practicing with the team too much. The Jets, at the end of the day, the Jets needed a guy like Dalvin Cook to come in there and kind of be a steadying force in the backfield for them. Because I don't think Zonovan Knight or Michael Carter can really be that guy full time.
And even though Brees Hall is unable to play, he is able to fight, as the Go Bills podcast comment brought up.
Yeah, apparently.
All right, that's a good point, Keith. I really do. I don't know. I feel like if Dalvin Cook is in rare form and he's really shown out in New York, I don't think Brees Hall or many other guys are getting playing time, because really, if you think about his time with Minnesota, you didn't really see Mattison, his backup. You didn't see Mattison play at all. Even you don't even know who like the third string guy on Minnesota was. So that's why I brought that up as a question. But I guess we'll see.
I'll say this, Chris. Dalvin Cook is getting up there in age. He needs to be saved from himself as well.
A lot of them do. Yeah. But I'm going to get into it. So,
all right, Sean.
I'll start with Zeke. Man, I wanted Zeke when at post June 1st, because then if you got him before June 1st or July 1st or whatever, you would have had to pay him his contract that he had left. So I was like, this was before we got Harris and everything. And I was like, man, one of the best pass blocking running backs in the league. 12 touchdowns last year as a specialty back, so he wasn't even taking the big workload. Missed 3 games, got almost 900 rushing yards still, and never fumbled the ball for he's like the longest active streak of not fumbling. I said, that's perfect. Let's get a guy like that in. It won't be too much. I would love that. We didn't get him. Great, phenomenal move for the Patriots. And Mike mentioned, what's the split time going to be? Give Zeke all the goal line. And Ramondre did so much last year. He was probably gassed by the end of the year. So get him some help, because Harris wasn't able to really contribute last year. So you got a guy like Zeke that can go in there. Third and short, he's automatic. So you got that going for you. You don't even need a QB sneak. And, like I said, with the Patriots O-line, teetering, like some people think it's going to be okay. Some people are worried about it. When you got Zeke in the backfield blocking, it's like having an extra lineman out there. And I mean, Dallas even lined him up as a center with the only lineman in the playoff game. I mean, I love that signing. Dalvin Cook with the Jets. I mean, great player, all-pro. 4 years in a row with 1,000 yards. But I will say he's unable to practice right now, not only because I think he's having a child, but his shoulder from last year is still recovering, so he's unable to practice because of that. So will that be a lingering injury for him this year? And again, learning a new offense. And like I said, I think it's a desperate move, but the Jets are able to make desperate moves right now because of all the money they got. If people haven't noticed, they're all in for the Super Bowl, even though whether we think that they're going to get there, because not just because of Dolphins or for the Patriots, for the Bills, there's still the Kansas City Chiefs around, and they're the favorite until someone beats them. So 5 AFC championships in a row, and everybody thinks Aaron Rodgers is going to be like Tom Brady, but again, he made the big pay cut. They're able to sign a guy like Dalvin Cook, but he's also had a pretty good O-line. Same thing with Rodgers. They've had pretty good O-lines their whole career. Now the Jets won. AVT's their best lineman keeps getting injured. Becton's not ready to play yet. Dwayne Brown's 45,000 years old and he's still on the pup list. Joe Tittman, a guy that we loved in the draft, is rising up the ranks right now. So they got a lot of question marks, whether people want to admit it or not. But what does this mean for the Bills? In my opinion, it doesn't mean anything to me because if anything, it puts more pressure on us. And what does pressure make? Pressure makes diamonds, baby. So, we always play what the competition is. So if the Jets are better, the Patriots are better, the Dolphins are better, that's fine. It's going to make us better in the end anyway. So, and also the same thing, at the same time, you can only control what you do. It doesn't matter what the Patriots do or the Jets or the Dolphins do or any team does, because if you play your football and you do what you're supposed to do, you don't make mistakes, you don't turn the ball over, and you come to play, it doesn't matter who you're playing. You could lose to a team that's 1-15. You know what I mean? It really doesn't matter. So, good moves. I like the moves, and the more great moves you guys make, the more people sleep on us again, and then it's just like they're gonna forget. We won 13 games last year. We signed a bunch of great players, and we still got Josh Allen, a quarterback.
But Sean, I think it's adorable that you think people are sleeping on the Bills.
Not everybody, but some people do. Mostly, I think people do it just because, it's the fun thing to do now. Like the Jets got all the hype, and people put fawned over the Bills last year, and I thought it was rightfully so. Not just because I'm a Bills fan, but I think they earned the reason to be favorites in the Super Bowl or whatever. And the reason why it's a little bit annoying that the Jets are getting all this hype is because I remember when we were in a 17-year drought. And then there was that one year we started off 3-0, and then we were playing the Patriots 3-0. Josh Allen got hurt near the end of the fourth quarter. It was a tie game. Then Matt Barkley went in and threw 2 picks, and we lost 16-10. That year we were even saying we could turn this around. We can beat the Patriots. We can win the division. Then everyone's like, no, you got to prove it first. You got to prove it first. So we made the playoffs. Next year we won a division. Oh, you got to do it again. You got to prove it. You got to prove it. When we went 13-3, went to an AFC championship. Got to prove it. Oh, won a division again. So, but now the Jets can just get Aaron Rodgers and Dalvin Cook, and they have offensive rookie, defensive rookie of the year, Quentin Williams, and now they're just like, oh yeah, Super Bowl. They don't got to do nothing. They just got to sign people. They don't got to play one game, and they're already favorites for the Super Bowl. So for me, it's more of we got beat down for 20 years by the Patriots. We had to prove that we were the top dogs now. So how can anybody say until it happens that we're not at the top? And yeah, you could say the Jets are going to make the playoffs. You could say the Dolphins are a Super Bowl contender. You could say all that stuff. But in my opinion, the people that remain at the top are there until someone tells them no. And that's what they told us for years. Once you knock off the Pats, then you're the king of the AFC. We knocked off the Pats, and they said do it again. We did it again. Yeah. Now we got to do it again. So now we're going on year 4, and we'll see what happens. But like I said, great moves. I got into a little bit of a tangent, but we'll get back on track. So we'll start with Keith now.
Well, Sean, to your point, the Dolphins have been, in just as much of a dark age that the Jets have been. And for me, I've always been trying to temper my expectations when it comes to the Dolphins. I try to, so I don't get disappointed. So, the higher you let yourself go, the further you fall.
Oh yeah.
And the Jets fans, we know, Chris. But the Jets fans, they already started off on cloud 9. As soon as they got Aaron Rodgers, they said, "Okay, Super Bowl," and that ignores years and years of ineptitude on their part as a franchise. So I can understand where you're coming from. That it is a little annoying to hear them anoint themselves as Super Bowl champions. But that being said, they are a really talented team who was quarterback away last year, and they got themselves a future first ballot Hall of Famer who's only a season removed from back-to-back MVPs. So, the hype is real for them, as it is for the Dolphins and as it is for the Bills. And, even the Patriots to an extent are a team that you can't sleep on. So this is just going to be a dogfight all season long, and I think we all should mentally prepare ourselves for that.
Oh yeah, and again, our schedule is it's insanely tough, but I love that because last year people hated me for that. They think I'm negative all the time, but we had a streak of winning these games. I mean, we were 13-3, so we won a lot of games.
Yeah,
we finished off on like an 8-game win streak, but we were playing like crap and we were winning these games. And everyone's like, "Oh, we won. It don't matter." But you have to talk about it because when you get to the playoffs, it ain't gonna fly. And then guess what happened in the playoffs? The stats were a little bit skewed. Skylar Thompson was like 18 for 50, didn't really do that good, but then the score was neck and neck. Yeah. Josh Allen did, had 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, whatever. But got through that luckily. I couldn't imagine losing to the Patriots or the Dolphins in the playoff. 2 years in a row we got to play division rival in the first round of the playoffs. But anyway, then we went to the Bengals and we crapped the bed. So it was those things you can't just as a fan, even though it doesn't really matter what fans say, you should talk about bad things that happen because that's not everything's perfect. Yeah, and a lot of people like to pretend that don't worry about it, it's just 1 game or it's just 2 games or whatever. But speaking of games, I could talk about this all day. But we'll start with Keith. How was week 1 for you guys? What did you? What was your overall analysis? What did you think?
Week 1 was miserable, Sean. It was a miserable game. The Dolphins lost 19-3 to the Falcons backups. The Dolphins backups, I should say, lost 19-3 to the Falcons backups. Very few started. What's that?
It was the Dolphins. The Dolphins lost.
Very few starters played for the Dolphins. The few that didn't play all that well. I'm looking at Liam Eichenberg. I'm looking at guys like that who went out there and just did not play very well at all. So it was a miserable performance along the offensive line. It was a miserable performance from a discipline standpoint. They committed a lot of mental penalties, a lot of false starts, a lot of holds, things that you can't do. Now, that being said, those are things that can be worked on. Those are things that can be coached out. You're going to be sloppy week 1 of the preseason. No team looks like they're in midseason form week 1 of the preseason. But that performance was concerning, and they need to get back to the basics, get back to the fundamentals, and start playing the game the right way, for lack of a better term. They need, because the mental penalties, the mental mistakes they made in that game aren't going to fly come November. If they actually do have Super Bowl aspirations, they need to be better. Now, their starters will be better, but there are things they have to figure out along the offensive line. Liam Eichenberg is losing his grasp of the left guard job. And I've talked about this a lot on here. I've talked about offensive line a lot, I guess. But it looks like Isaiah Wynn or Robert Jones are both in the process of supplanting Liam Eichenberg at left guard, which is a good thing because I think Isaiah Wynn was miscast as a tackle in New England, and I think he's going to be a much better guard for the Dolphins. Austin Jackson played decently. Skylar Thompson played decently. Mike White wasn't very good. It just wasn't a very good performance on either side of the ball for the Dolphins. And there were injuries as well. Injuries to Cam Smith, there's an injury to Braxton Berrios. It was just kind of a miserable week of joint practice and preseason game. It's time. Hey, Mark, how you doing, man? Good to see you.
Hey, Mark, welcome to the show.
But so this week the Dolphins are going down to Houston to face the Texans. They're going to do 2 joint practices with the Texans and then a preseason game against them. And I'm just looking. I'm not looking for the Dolphin starters to play. I don't want them to play. I don't want their most important players to play, but I want them to play more disciplined football when they go down to Houston. That's what I'm looking for. Regardless of what the score is, I don't care what the score is. I don't want them to commit stupid penalties anymore. I don't want them to commit holding calls or false starts. I want them to play a smart football game. That's all I want from them.
I love it. Got to ask you, Keith,
Sir.
When you guys had Brian Flores, you were the most disciplined football team in the league. Last
Yeah.
year, you were the least disciplined football team in the league, and it seems like it's carrying over. Do you feel like Mike McDaniel's too much of a buddy coach? Do you feel like there's no accountability as far as you make a mistake? What was that thing Flores had? I forgot what it was. When you made a penalty, you had to run somewhere, and it takes no
Yeah.
talent or whatever. And I mean, what do you think's
Yeah.
going on with that? Do
So
you like McDaniel's approach, or do you feel like if you had a Flores with this team, you guys would be better?
I think part of the problem with the Dolphins right now is that they went from one extreme to the other. They went from Brian Flores, who's such a disciplinarian, to Mike McDaniel, who is a little more buddy, a little bit more of a free thinker when it comes to football. And more takes more of a laissez-faire attitude regarding the coach, regarding his players. I think that's part of the reason why they brought Vic Fangio in, a grizzled old veteran, a respected coach who's been in the league a very long time. I think that's part of the reason why you bring a guy like Vic Fangio in to kind of instill a little more discipline in the team. I think that's going to take a little bit more time to take shape for the Dolphins. Hope is not lost. It's only one preseason game, but again, they just need to be more disciplined. And I think guys like Vic Fangio will help to bring them back to their more disciplined roots. There has to be a middle ground here.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can't run a football team like it's basic training in the Army. You can't run a football team like you can't just let them do whatever the hell they want in practice. There needs to be a middle ground here, and I think Mike McDaniel needs to find that with Vic Fangio.
I think that's a great point. I think Fangio, he's kind of an old head in the league. He could probably try to make that happen. Chris, I'll let you comment. I don't know if you caught any of the Dolphins game or heard anything about it. If you want to talk about it, you can. If not, we can just head over to your game.
I only put on the Dolphins when I want to go to sleep.
Oh.
So it would have been a good game to do it then.
When I want to see interceptions, I'll watch Mac Jones play. So.
Oh, the Keith got the jokes. When it comes to the Patriots week 1 game of the preseason, it was always good to see football back. So let's start with that. It's always good to see football back. I mean, it was just a wonderful, wonderful feeling. As for our performance, it was a little bit upsetting. We lost, 20-3 to the Texans. It was a rough performance, but honestly, I can attribute that to the Texans had more seasoned quarterbacks out there. I mean, honestly, if you put Case Keenum, a very seasoned quarterback, against backup second and third strings player, of course he's going to tear up. He's going to pick them apart. So I don't really count that as a loss. But as for our offense and defense, I've seen some good things on offense, seen some good things on defense. Yeah, that's a very good point, Nickel City Mafia. It's not really about winning or losing in preseason. It's just kind of getting experience in. But Christian Gonzalez made some very impressive plays. He looked like he was ready to play out there, so I was happy to see him. I think he's undoubtedly probably going to take that starting cornerback spot. So I've seen him make really, really good plays on offense. Our defense rather. I think the best takeaway I can take away from that game was the play of Malik Cunningham. He came out there, he had the crowd involved, he had the announcers involved. He really kind of surprised and shocked the world there. He made a really big play. He's really athletic. He can throw the ball. He had a touchdown. He did a perfect pass on the run. It was a touchdown, but the receiver dropped it, but he made up for it, and he just danced his way into the end zone. So Malik Cunningham is really looking like a star in the making. I know it's kind of too early to call it. He could go out there and just straight stink it up the next game, but I think he might get a little bit more playing time in game 2 of this preseason, especially because we see that what was it, Bailey Zappi? I don't remember his first name, but I think Bailey Zappi really wasn't able to move the ball, and he had most of the possessions of through 3 quarters. So it just I think really at that point, Bill should have said, all right, let's switch it up. But he came in what's it called, garbage time. He really showed up. So that was my takeaway from the preseason.
Beautiful. Well, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch either of those games because I was working, and then I missed the Bills game, but I had to rewatch it, and then they played it on TV in the morning, and then I watched the condensed version like 45 times on YouTube. So that's the only way I got to see that one. But from what you guys said, I mean, it's all about the young guys, and Mike said it's not about winning, but it's about these young guys possibly winning a job. And, like Cunningham, nobody really knew about him. Now he might get more playing time and he might make the roster or make someone else's roster, and like he said, they're making the mental mistakes. Now this is the time where they can fix it. And, it's not about winning, but this is it's not like a great indication, but it's a pretty decent indication of who your depth is and how you're going to look if you have to rely on some of these guys. Yeah, they're going against, third and fourth stringers or backups or whatever, but it's always good to see like what you really got, at your disposal. And like Chris said about the Texans, I mean, Davis Mills was a starter, and Case Keenum's not that great, but he's got playoff wins, or at least one playoff win.
He
And
got he got time in the NFL.
yeah, and he led his team to a couple of I think they won a division that year, and great a bunch of wins. So definitely definitely makes sense why they did pretty decent against you guys. But as far as the Bills go, it was good to see. We had the first team. Well, Colts did too. We both had our first team offense and defense for the most part. We were missing a few players. Obviously, Josh and Steph didn't play on offense, and then Teron Johnson didn't play on defense, and Daquan Jones didn't play on defense. But for the most part, we got to see, a couple plays here and there. The starting offense played 6 plays, 5 runs and 1 pass, touchdown. James Cook did an amazing job. But again, it didn't matter who was running the ball with the way that line was blocking, because that's really what it all matters. It doesn't matter if you got me, Chris, or Keith being running back. If you got those holes open, we're getting through them. So credit to that O-line. James Cook looks fast. He looks determined. He looks great. Got O-line. Osiris Torrance, the guy that we were clamoring about pre-draft. We got our guy. Luckily, we got gifted in the second round because the Dolphins didn't take him. Really appreciate that. But he did phenomenal. He played the majority of the game, just to get more reps. But he was with the first team. Did good. Even Spencer Brown, one of the guys I'm most hard on, did pretty good. So happy to see that. And then Kyle Allen did okay, I guess. Okay to bad. Matt Barkley lit it up. I know Keith knows about Matt Barkley, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Kept him out of the playoffs that one year. But, oh, man. So he's not the greatest. But, again, he'll probably get time to start this next game instead of Kyle Allen. And maybe we'll see Josh for a series. Who knows? But there was a couple receivers. Tyrell Shavers caught a touchdown, but he dropped a couple balls. Shakir had 2 great catches, but dropped an easy one. Andy Isabella made 3 great plays. And then Sherfield only had 1 target, and it was a bad throw. Hardy, a guy we spent a lot of money on, which I still think it was a little bit too much money considering he didn't play last year. And his best season was as a rookie, where he had 500 yards receiving, and 200 of them were in one game. And then he was an all-pro returner. So, yeah, I give him his flowers for that. But for the most part, pretty good. Didn't get to see a lot of Kincaid. But overall, the offense did pretty decent. And against the starters, the offensive line looked great. And then as far as our defense goes, looked pretty good against their offense as well. Got constant pressure. Short run plays, we third and short, or whatever the distance was and down. If it was short, we did pretty good. Had a couple good stops, but then we got gashed a little bit for a couple decent gains. We didn't have our a couple of our starters, like I said. So Daquan Jones, he's a great run stuffer. Maybe I could have played a difference at it, but for the most part, phenomenal. Happy with it, and the backups look decent. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. And again, like Mike said, stay healthy, always important. That's the best thing. We did have Tommy Dill got nicked up, and Dale, I forgot his first name. He's from Alabama, undrafted free agent, D tackle. Love him a lot. He's probably going to be a practice squad guy, unless barring injury. But they both got dinged up, but they're at practice and they're fine. So overall, can't complain. Yeah, we got to win, but like Mike said, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, DJ Dale. Okay, thanks, Brett. And Brett says, Keith, are you worried about the Dolphins' offensive line? I've noticed a lot of inconsistent play from them. Before Keith goes, I'm just going to mention Teron Armstead isn't playing right now, but he's in his whole career, he's never played a whole season, and he averages about 11 to 12 games a year. So that's, initially that's concerning. Eichenberg's a concern. I think if you put Connor Williams at guard, which he's a great center, he's a true guard. If you can find a center and put Armstead, Connor Williams, great center, Robert Hunt, great four, and then Austin Jackson's doing better from what I hear. And but I'll let Keith elaborate more on it. And I think there's some concern there. How about you, Keith?
Oh, there's certainly concern there. And, my concerns regarding the Dolphins' offensive line have been well documented on this channel. I want the biggest key to the Dolphins' success this season is Tua staying healthy. And how is Tua going to stay healthy if he's behind an offensive line that looks like they're trying to get charged for manslaughter, So, like you said, Sean, Austin Jackson has looked better, and he's in a contract year, so he's extra motivated to be in the best shape of his life and watch as much film as possible and be the best player that he can be. So Austin Jackson has been a lot better for the Dolphins, and he's also shown flashes in the past. So I'm cautiously optimistic when it comes to Austin Jackson. Robert Hunt has been rock solid at right guard. I have no complaints with him. I have no complaints with Connor Williams at center. Truthfully, he wasn't all that great of a guard, in my opinion, when he was with Dallas.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to disagree, but go ahead.
He was light. He was miscast as a guard on that offensive line, in my opinion. Dallas's offensive line, they have a lot of big guys who are space movers. They're earth movers. Connor Williams is not that. Connor Williams is lighter. He's a little more nimble, and he got pushed around a lot on the Cowboys' offensive line just based on their offensive line scheme. I think Connor Williams is better suited to a more zone blocking scheme that the Dolphins run. He needs to be a little bit lighter, a little bit faster. Needs to be able to pull a little bit easier. If you compare Connor Williams to Dallas's other guard, Zach Martin, if you look at those two, Zach Martin is a massive human being. Connor Williams isn't. Connor Williams is a lot, like I said, lighter, more nimble. So I think he was miscast as a guard with the Cowboys. I think he's a much better center for the Dolphins than he was as a guard for the Cowboys.
I'll respect your opinion, but I'm going to have to disagree slightly.
Right.
I think the main reason why the Dolphins moved him to center was because he was the most penalized guard in the league the year prior with Dallas, and you can't commit many penalties at center besides holding. But that's often, not many centers get that many penalties.
But why was he committing so many penalties with Dallas, Sean? Because he was getting beat. He was getting pushed back.
I don't know, because
he wasn't playing very well.
His grades on PFF were pretty good. And from everybody I know in Dallas, they had nothing but good things to say about him. But I'm not saying that there's no truth to what you're saying. But, it's a good point. I'm the speculating that I think they moved him to center because of the penalty issue. And he didn't have many penalties last year. But like you said, it works for you guys. And I don't know, there's different blocking schemes. In the run, there's zone and gap. And maybe Dallas. I don't watch Dallas too often unless they're playing prime time or against the Bills. And they might have a completely different approach to how they run. And like you said, Miami runs more of his own, run scheme, and it works better for him. And he's been phenomenal at center. But I'd be interested to see if they could get a solid center. Would they try him at guard? And then maybe in that scheme, he might be even better at guard than he was in Dallas. And that's just
that's possible, Sean.
I always thought that, but
thing is, at this stage of the season, where you're going to get a starting caliber center.
Well, it's too late.
They're kind of stuck with Connor Williams at center for right now. Yeah. So if you look at left guard, I think Isaiah Wynn's probably going to end up taking over for Liam Eichenberg. He just has to be good, and the Liam Eichenberg experiment, whatever you want to call it, it's about to end for the Dolphins. Oh, yeah. It's about to come to a merciful end for the Dolphins because it hasn't been fun to watch.
And that one's extremely tough because you guys gave away a lot for him, and and you moved up, and he is not panning out. And he was drafted as a tackle, though, wasn't he?
Well, but his arms were always too short to play tackle in the NFL. That was always the book on him. You're always going to they were thinking that you're always going to have to kick him inside the guard, and that's fine. Plenty of college tackles have been moved inside the guard and had long, illustrious careers, like Zach Martin of the Cowboys. He played tackle at Notre Dame as well. So and he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer for when he retires finally. So
Best in the league.
I think the Dolphins were hoping they would get the next Zach Martin when they drafted Liam Eichenberg.
No, we all.
Yeah, yeah, and they ended up getting the next Robert Gallery or whatever.
The next Liam Eichenberg.
Yeah, the next Liam Eichenberg.
I will say before we pose a question to Chris, I really don't like the whole thought of a lot of these organizations have, like, oh, we're just going to throw him at guard, because it's completely different. Some people can do it. Like,
Yeah.
I love Elijah Vera Tucker. He's phenomenal. I think, honestly, the Jets are going to ruin what could potentially be a Hall of Fame career because he has to play every single position because they can't get it right. He's a all-pro caliber guard, but now he's got to play tackle maybe because they don't have a good guard or a good tackle to play. So they got to shift him over. He's got to keep doing this, and he can't stay at one spot. But most of the time, even left to right guard is 100% different. So just a small example, Vandermark, he was a second-year undrafted free agent on our team. He played 18 snaps at left tackle in the preseason game, did excellent. Went to right tackle, did absolutely horrible. And and people might think, like, people that maybe just got into football, didn't play or whatever, they might think, oh, left and right tackle should be the same thing, right? But it's really different. And
the analogy with that, right, Sean?
What's that?
I've heard they've said that it's trying to wipe your butt with the opposite hand.
Oh yeah.
If you're a righty, try to wipe your butt with your left hand.
Oh yeah.
And tell me how easy that is. It's not.
It's not true. And we did that with, I don't know if you guys remember Cody Ford from Oklahoma. We drafted him in the second round as a tackle. He played a little bit of guard in college, but drafted him as a tackle. He played his senior year as a tackle. His rookie year, he did phenomenal. People like to hate on him and they try to discredit what he did his rookie year. But even Von Miller said, because he went up against Von Miller, held him to 0 sacks. He said, that kid's got a future. He did excellent against a guy like me. He didn't say it in those words, but that's really what he said. And then we got a guy named Darrell Williams the following year. And then he's a better guard than he was a tackle. But what we did was, we like versatility. Let's put Cody Ford at guard and see how that works out. So then they put the guy who was better at tackle at guard and the guy that was better at guard at tackle. Cody Ford got hurt. Then he stunk. And then they put him at left guard. He got hurt again and he stunk. And they got rid of him. And everybody hated on him so much. They wanted to get him out of Buffalo. They ignored all the things he did as a rookie. But then we got a guy like Spencer Brown, who was 100 times worse than Cody Ford ever was at tackle 2 years in a row. Now they want to keep giving him chances. I'm going to give him another chance. People give the excuse he was hurt, had back surgery, blah, 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 blah. I'm giving him the extra chance. And, I hope he works out because he's a Buffalo Bill. But not everybody can switch positions on the line. So, but again, like guys like Zach Martin,
you're right about that, Sean. And the Dolphins did that with Liam Eichenberg a good bit as well. Early, his rookie and second seasons in the league, the Dolphins did that with Liam Eichenberg. So they could have ruined him, like you just said. It's certainly possible. I will allow for that possibility, and I will allow for the possibility that it's not all Liam Eichenberg's fault. But the fact of the matter is that we need a left guard, and Liam Eichenberg isn't it.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Chris.
Yes, sir.
How do you feel about, before we get into the preseason week 2, a lot of people gave Bill Belichick flack for Cole Strange, drafted him last year. I thought it was a little soon to get him, but he turned out pretty decent. How do you feel about him going into year 2? And I don't know much about what's going on in camp. So has he had a good camp, or do you expect him to take another big leap this year, or what?
Yeah, I think he's going to take another big leap. I think that right now they're getting everything together. Patriots didn't have the best season last year. I think they're really congealing as a team, getting into form. And like I've always been saying, now that we have an offensive coordinator, the defense has always been good. The defense always steadily improves. And now that we have an offensive coordinator, I think things are really just going to start continue to improve over time. So I'm really looking forward to what happens during our season this year. I think there's going to be a lot of surprises. I know people are counting the Patriots out. They're counting them to be, fourth in the AFC East, or, last place in the AFC East, rather. And I just think that they're going to shock the world this year.
Yeah, man. Hey, I've seen crazier stuff happen, and it wouldn't be surprising to me if all of us had winning records. I don't know if we'll all make the playoffs. I think it's kind of impossible, especially with the AFC North and the AFC West and the AFC East. There's no way that a whole division is going to take 4. We might not be able to get 3 in each division. Again, it's always preseason. We said the same thing last year. Oh, AFC West is going to have 4 teams, first division ever to have 4 teams in the playoffs, and then whatever. We know the South is only going to get 1 team.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
So there's the 4 division winners, and then you only got 3 spots left. So it's really and that's the other thing when people say like, oh, the Jets are gonna win a Super Bowl or whatever. Nobody's understanding how freaking hard it's going to be to even win 1 playoff game this year in the AFC because of how good all these teams are. Granted, it could be injuries. Anyone could go down. It could change the whole trajectory of a season. God forbid for all the players. I never want to see anybody hurt. But if one key player goes down for one of these great teams, that's it. It could be it. And
That's
especially this year.
That's true, Sean. But, there are so many good teams in the AFC, good teams that could be great teams in the AFC. There are at least 3. Chris would argue that there's 4 in the AFC East alone. And in the AFC West, you have the Chiefs and you have the Chargers and you have the Broncos who might be on the come up with Sean Payton. Yeah. And in the North, you have the Steelers and the Ravens and the Bengals. And the Browns think that they're going to be a good team. There are so many. Hey, I'm not saying that they're not, but there's so many good teams in the AFC this year. It's going to be, no matter who makes the playoffs, going to the Super Bowl, you're going to be going through a murderer's row of teams.
Oh, yeah. One seed is important.
You're going to be going through the absolute gauntlet.
Yeah.
So, for Jets fans or Dolphins fans or even Bills fans to say, oh, we're going to the Super Bowl. All right. Yeah. The Bills, I guess, have the best argument for saying that because they've won the division the last 3 years. They are Super Bowl favorites in the AFC. No, they can argue that. They've earned that for the past 3 years of winning the division. They've earned that, if we're being fair about things here. But to say that we're going to the Super Bowl and, make a declarative statement like that, the way Jets fans have been doing, man, that is so preemptive. It's unbelievable.
You got to take it one game at a time. Like, here's what I think about it. I see us as a Super Bowl contender. I don't guarantee an appearance, but, as much as people probably hate it, but Mahomes has been to 5 AFC championships in a row. There's no way that anyone could say that they won't be there this year at least. So there's only one spot really left for the championship game. So let's say the Jets had to be either the Bengals, the Ravens, the Bills, the Dolphins, the Chargers, the Browns, the Steelers. Like, there's even for us, there's no possible way it's going to be that easy to just walk through. And especially what I'm worried about for our division, whether whoever wins or not, we have the hardest schedule out of the rest of the conference. The NFC East and the AFC East have the hardest schedule. They're all in the top 10.
Yep.
So we might win 11. Say the Bills are 11-6, the Jets are 11-6, the Dolphins 11-6, Patriots are 11-6 or whatever. We'll just say they all got the same record. One of the other divisions could play a lot of easier teams. Like the South got an easy schedule, and then one of them wins 12, but they stink. They got a lucky draw. We got to, like, when I did the pre guessing the schedule, I think Jake had 13 wins. I think our ceiling could be 13 wins with how good we are, but I think realistically, the winner of the division is going to get probably 11 wins, and I don't know if 10 is going to be enough to make the playoffs anymore. And I say this likely to be 11 games is because we're beating the crap out of each other 6 times a year. We're all good teams. I'm not saying like the Patriots are going to win 13 games. Whether they win 8 or 10 or 9 or whatever, they're always tough.
13.
Yeah, 13. Yeah, but whether they win 1 or they can win no games, but they're always going to be tough. They're going to be they're never going to roll over for you. They're always going to be Bill Belichick trying to win a game.
And then we're playing the NFC East, who have 3 playoff teams from last year, and the Redskins, who are a team that sleep on at your own peril because they're building a defense down there. I really like what the Redskins are building. Redskins, Commanders. Wow.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
It's a hard adjustment.
Oh,
but
I can't believe I just did that.
It's so tough, and a lot of people just gloss over how incredibly hard the AFC East schedule is. And when I hear people say like, "Oh, Bills, Jets, Dolphins, we're going to win 13, 14 games," I'm like, I mean, it's possible, but you have no margin for error. Like I was looking through our schedule. I think the only game where you could look at and be like, you know what, I feel really good about that game no matter what is when we play the Bucks. And even that, they have a phenomenal defense. So you can't
Yeah.
even really say like, I mean, I guess you could say the Raiders, but they got Devontae Adams, they got Josh Jacobs, they got
Yeah.
Hunter Renfro, who they brought someone else over there that's good on offense too. Like they drafted Michael Mayer, and your boy Matt Collins is looking juiced up, ready to go.
Oh yeah, I just see
Um,
that. I seen that clip of Matt Collins. He looks
yeah,
ridiculous.
he looks like a beast now.
He's
He's like,
stacked right now.
give me
So
Miami. I'm ready to.
yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, again, it's the NFL too. It's a week-to-week league, so it's going to be extremely tough. And there's no. Last year there was a lot of gimme games, and
Mhm.
again, like I was saying we won 8 games in a row, and we played like absolute dog crap for all of them. So, and we ended up winning. So
Well,
one mistake can cause a season this year for all of our teams. And if the Patriots don't get third place, they could spoil they could beat us in the end, and we get second place or whatever, or knock one of us out of the playoffs. That's all very possible. So,
listen, there's a reason. There's a reason they say any given Sunday, right?
oh yeah,
Any
baby, that's
given
right.
Sunday, any team could take it. And you even look at some of these teams in the AFC, and you just never know what to expect from them. I think a team that's really going to surprise a lot of people. And I don't know. I think the Browns are going to be a pretty good team. I think Deshaun Watson is a great quarterback, and he has a lot to prove. And he's probably going to do more than Baker Mayfield ever did with that offense. But
Yeah,
I think a team that's really, really going to surprise everyone in the AFC is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that team is
Yeah.
primed and ready to go. Trevor Lawrence really, really showed a lot of growth toward the end of the season. Him and was it Evan Ingram? They got on a real tangent and they
oh
just went
yeah,
Oh
crazy.
yeah.
And now
Christian Kirk.
they have, yeah, yeah, yeah. They just went crazy. Now
Calvin
they have
Ridley.
they got a good running back in Travis Etienne.
Mm-hmm.
And now they also got Calvin Ridley. Yeah,
Yeah,
like you said, Calvin Ridley.
Yep.
So and really, Calvin Ridley was there for remember the Miami. Sorry, not Miami. The Atlanta Falcons, their Super Bowl season. He was when they had their
he
amazing
was a young
offense.
bull.
Yeah, when they had the young, but he was killing it back then.
Yeah,
Him, Julio Jones, Devontae Freeman. That was a high-powered offense, and he was a part of it. He was a big playmaker. So
yeah,
I
he's
can
amazing.
imagine what he's going to do with a great quarterback like Trevor Lawrence. So I think they might be primed for a deep playoff push this year.
Yeah.
So we shall see.
It's tough. It's not going to for the people still watching it. It's not going to be. It's going to be a very very stressful. Maybe not even fun year for any of us because if you're in those games and you're just like, oh, it's going like this, like
Yeah.
I can't even drink energy drinks before a football game because I'm just standing there. I hear the music. I feel like I'm ready to play again. Like my heart's just going like this the whole time. Like
Yep.
my blood pressure is probably like not good, and it's going to be like that all year round. So,
It's,
but
Every
really,
Sunday is going to be stressful. Every
I was
Sunday,
gonna.
there's no Sunday where we get to breathe a sigh of relief.
oh
It
yeah,
sounds like
Um,
it sounds like you guys don't drink beer on Sunday.
no, I don't. You guys, I'm probably going to start this year if that's how it's going to be. But before we move
I
on
might
to
start drinking whiskey on Sunday, man.
that's even better. I got some of that. I wanted at a stag party, so I got some Jack in the freezer. But
Okay.
Chris mentioned the Jags as a sleeper AFC team, not a sleeper, but a team to look out for. I'll
Yeah.
mention one. I'll let Keith do one. Then we'll go into week 2, what we expect and what we want to see. I already mentioned the Browns in a way because they got Myles Garrett. They got a great defense. They got one of the best running back in the league. They got Amari
Yeah.
Cooper. They got a bunch of other weapons on their offense. And if Deshaun Watson can play like he was before, and you got that defense and that great offense, just imagine what they can do. And it's kind of scary because you got a quarterback that can throw 30 plus touchdowns. You got a running back who's scoring 15 touchdowns, getting over 1,200 yards, and you got a great old line. That's the other thing. Great old line, fantastic old line, great defense. And I mean, if he could keep his hands to himself,
Ah.
they can, I had to throw the joke. I
Had
don't
to be
know if he
said.
did. I'm not gonna convict the guy, but I had to throw the joke out there. But if he can play how he was playing before all this incident happened, they got a shot at the division too, and you might
Yeah.
see it could be even Browns, Ravens, Bengals, or Ravens, Bengals, or it could be any. It's just like our division, It could be any of those teams. Steelers are even a good team too, so they're kind of a lot like us. They got one of the teams where a lot of people sleep on, but are always tough, and that could make a playoff push. Then you got the other three teams who are in a better position to make a playoff push that it could go any way. And, I think it's going to be an insane year. And I don't even know if I'm excited for it because I think it's just going to be crazy. It's going to be awful in a good way.
Well, Sean, I'm most definitely excited for it. I'm chomping at the bit for it. I just bought my NFL pass for YouTube TV, so I'm going to be able to stream. I'm going to be able to watch all the Dolphins games this year. I bought NFL ticket is what it is on YouTube TV.
Right.
Just bought that, and I'm super psyched for that. It's first season I've actually had that, so it's going to be great. Yeah. And so I'm super excited. The sleeper team that I see coming out of the AFC this year is the team that nobody's going to really see coming is
the Dolphins.
Team that
no,
other than the Dolphins, who are most definitely going to the Super Bowl. They're not. Tua's not going to retire. Brett McDurphy, he's not. But no,
put that out there, Brett. Poor Keith.
No, the sleeper team that I see, coming out of the AFC that's going to take some teams by surprise this year is actually the Steelers. I love Mike Tomlin as a coach. I love the way he always has his guys coached up. Opposite of so we were talking about that middle area of not running your teams like a drill sergeant, not running your teams with too laissez-faire of an attitude. Mike Tomlin has perfected that middle ground, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And his teams, I don't think he's ever had a losing season as a head coach.
Nope, never. Always 8-8 or better.
Yep. That speaks that kind of consistency just speaks to what kind of a great coach Mike Tomlin is. And then you add guys, ascending players, like Najee Harris on offense.
Yeah. I was trying to think of his name. Great player.
Like Najee Harris, like George Pickens as a receiver, and then Kenny Pickett, a quarterback who did some nice things in his rookie year. Needs to become a little more consistent. He also had a couple concussions last year. Nobody's talking about him the way they're talking about Tua. Just pointing that one out.
Well, he was not on national television. That's why.
Yeah, I think two was a lot worse though.
Yeah, they were a lot more graphic, but they were still, and they were a lot more horrific. I mean, Tua did win the defensive position on the field. That's always scary to look at. But awful. Kenny Pickett had just as many concussions as Tua had last year. So if he can get that cleaned up and find a little more consistency in his game, the Steelers have a top 10 defense in the NFL right now. They can do some things and surprise some teams this season.
Love it. That's a great pick. But let's get into week 2, what we expect. And also you can mention, did somebody in week 1 earn more playing time, excite you, or you could pick someone that got playing time, didn't excite you, and might get less playing time. We'll start with Keith. What do you expect from your week 2 game? Who do you play even? And if there is any players that excited you or whatever the opposite of excited you is.
Well, we're playing the Texans in week 2. So we have some joint practices this week with them. And so as far as guys that excited me, I'm going to start with Noah Igbenogany, who has come a long way since becoming what everybody thought was a first-round bust for the Dolphins. He's had a really nice camp. And he played some really nice snaps for the Dolphins in that game. And he's looking like a guy who's starting to grow into his athletic ability, which is really nice to see. Another guy is Cam Smith in the secondary. Their second-round pick out of South Carolina was having a nice game until he hurt his shoulder. He has since returned to practice, so we're good there. And as far as guys that haven't impressed me, I'm just going to go right to Liam Eichenberg, and I'm going to put him on blast yet again because, you know what? He hasn't been good enough, and he's going to lose his starting job. He was penciled in for that starting job going into this season, and he's going to lose it because for whatever reason he hasn't learned how to play that position. So, and as far as what I'm looking for in week 2, like I said, I just want more discipline. I want the guys to play more discipline, stop committing stupid penalties, play smart football, and start getting back to kind of the roots of the game and just be better. That's all I'm looking for here, guys. I don't
Love
think
it.
it's asking too much. And once again, don't care about the score. I don't give a damn about the score. They can lose 100-0 as long as they play disciplined football along the way.
You really wouldn't care if you lost 100-0?
Yeah, no, that would kind of suck. I was just saying that for effect.
I couldn't imagine someone scoring 100, but good stuff. Chris, I think I know who you're going to say excited you, but again, same questions. What are you looking for in week 2? Who excited you from last week that might get more playing time, and who kind of turned you off?
Well, as I said earlier in the show, Malik Cunningham, I think it's going to be the Malik Cunningham show for us next week. I think Brian Zapp, Bailey Zappi just really didn't play the performance. He really didn't show anything, any type of gusto, any type of fight. So I think he's going to get a lot less playing time. He just really did not impress me the way he managed the ball through 3 quarters. But Malik Cunningham came in there for 2 minutes. He had everyone on their feet. He had the announcers really hype. I think Tyquan Thornton as well. I think he's going to be he made some really impressive catches, really showed some like a lot of explosiveness and versatility. So I think him and Malik Cunningham are going to be building their chemistry, and I'm looking to see them as some threats going as the season progresses. I mean, I don't think he'll get playing time over Mac Jones, but it's football. You never know what's going to happen. But those are two people who really impressed. Also, I did see Keon White, our defensive tackle. He had a really nice play that ended up in a fumble recovery. He was really proactive, quick. It was quick on the defense. So I think I want to see Keon White make some more big plays because they drafted him pretty early as well. So want to see how he does as our edge rusher. So that's my predictions for week 2.
Beautiful. That's exactly who I thought you were going to say for Malik Cunningham. For me, there's a couple guys. Andy Isabella on offense. He's a long shot to make the team. It's going to be tough. He'll probably make a practice squad, but he was a former second-round pick. He's a camp darling right now for most people, but he produced in the game. Like I said, going to be hard for him to make the roster because not only at receiver, but we have an all-pro returner, hopefully in Hardy, hopefully get back to the all-pro form, and we paid him a lot of money. So I don't see Andy Isabella making the team, but I do think he produced and earned some more go with the second team, if you want to call it, whoever goes out there first. I think he earned some more playing time there. And then another guy who I've loved since we got him, Boogie Basham. A lot of people, Boogie's the new Cody Ford. Everybody's like, get that guy out of here. He stinks, blah, blah, blah. But when we were doing our film breakdowns last year, for the most part, we didn't do it the whole year. But there was a lot of plays where by him and Vaughn stunting together, Boogie created a pass for Vaughn to get sacks. Vaughn does it. Vaughn could do it on his own, a one-on-one pass rush. When we were stunting and doing other things, Boogie was a very big contributor to a lot of people's success, and he did pretty good himself. But everybody sleeps on him. Everybody hates on him. He's the fun guy to hate right now. There's always that guy that the Bills fans pick out as, oh, screw this guy, let's get him off and trade him away. We don't care. But he's been listening, and he produced really well. The coaches see it. Could they be showcasing him? Maybe. But second round pick. I mean, he's still got a lot left in him, and I think it'd be a mistake to let him go. But if they were to let him go, I would hope to get something for him. I hope they wouldn't just cut him. But I think he definitely earned some more go on the team. And as far as someone who kind of made me upset was a guy, Ike Bacher, who I love. But he coming back off a horrible injury in Achilles, and just like Vera Tucker, and he just hasn't looked like himself. But it might take time. And quick caveat: I was watching some Jets channels today. I always go behind enemy lines to get information, but they're mentioning AVT's got an ankle injury right now bothering him, and Salah comes out and says, "Oh well, he's been dealing with it all camp. He's just playing through it." That's probably the dumbest thing you could do because Achilles injuries are really like a 2-year recovery process, whether he's fine or not. and but I don't know if it's the same. I don't know if it's the same foot. I'm not going to speculate, but if it is the same foot, that's really stupid because you're just further putting his career at risk because you want to try to beat Buffalo week 1 or whatever. And I know it's not the same thing, but when I pulled my hamstring my senior year in baseball, I had to favor my left leg. And when my right leg got better, I pulled my left hamstring because I favored it too much. And then in the summer of baseball, I pulled both of them at the same time. So it's a thing where it could be his opposite ankle that he hurt his Achilles, but now it's seeing the effects of being on that one alone for a year or 9 months, or whatever it is. And so Ike, he's got to play better this in week 2. Hopefully he can get better. And I hate to see him go, but he's definitely on the bubble right now. And as far as what I'd like to see a little bit more of Kincaid. He only got like 2 plays, and I think they're trying to keep him a secret for week 1. But I'd like to see him at least catch 1 pass, just to get that out of the way. And then I'd like to see more of Murray. Murray did pretty good, and we all know who Murray is and how good he can be. But I'd like to see a little bit more of him because Harris is still injured, and that stinks for us. But want to see the offensive line do pretty good again. And if the first teamers are in for either side of the ball, just want to see good, clean, sound football and, knock some dudes out. So
fair enough.
We're going to go to final thoughts. Keith, since you're about to talk.
Sean, you said you want to see your first stringers. I don't want to see the Dolphins' first stringers. I don't want to see, after the Jalen Ramsey injury, I don't want to see any more injuries. After the season the Dolphins had last year with injury, I just don't want to see any more injuries. I'm ready to get the season started, and I'm ready to – I don't want to – Jalen Waddle's been out of practice. I want to see the Dolphins get to the regular season unscathed, and take their lumps in camp, but don't play in a meaningless game that's just going to have the potential of injuring you. Not my decision to make, obviously,
right.
And I'm sure that Tua is going to get some run in at least a little bit in the preseason. I'm sure Tyreek and all their major players are going to get a little bit of playing time. But doesn't mean I want it.
Oh, yeah,
so
100%.
I'm ready for the season to start, guys.
Yeah,
I'm already in mid-season form over here.
I'm with you.
All right. So, it was great. It was great doing the show with you boys tonight, and I'll see you next week.
Love it. Chris, final thoughts, my man.
Man, I just can't wait for the regular season. Like Keith said, I'm hoping everyone gets back into the season unscathed. We got a little dislocated shoulder with Mike Gesicki, so I'm hoping that doesn't bother him too much as week 1, week 2 come around, and he's able to recover from that. I'm really excited about the players that we picked up in the draft. Really excited about just how things are move forward with the Patriots. But the biggest thing is, like I said, I think our new X factor is going to be Malik Cunningham. So I'm really excited to see how this young man performs moving forward. Patriots, I feel like besides Tom Brady, they haven't really needed a quarterback. So now that we are in the need for a quarterback, do we stick with Mac Jones if he continues to play at the level he's playing at, or do we switch it up and try and move in different directions? So yeah, I'm really, really excited to see how the season goes. I'm looking forward to it. Week 2, week 1. So I'm ready.
Oh yeah, like I was saying, I'm super pumped, but at the same time, it's like I know I'm going to be stressed out to the max every single game because that's just who I am. And Mike and Jake, they learned by now. They stop answering me. They stop looking at Instagram. The whole game, I'm like, damn this person, damn that person. What the hell? Just going crazy, like cutting this guy, get him off the roster. Like, that's how I am during games. And then it's actually funny because oftentimes when I talk crap about somebody, they end up playing better during the game. Then I'm like, see, if I just keep talking crap about them, their ears are gonna ring and they're gonna start playing better. So it's just
you should talk more crap about Dolphins players then.
No, I talk good about that.
I wish that worked for fantasy football. My team would be doing amazing.
I wish. But yeah, nonetheless, guys, I was glad to get on here with you. I think I was with Keith before, but I don't think it was on the summit.
Yeah.
I think it was just a different
Yeah,
video.
it was a Nickel City Mafia show
Right.
that Mike invited me on. But Sean, it was great to have you on the summit, and would
Yeah.
love to see you again.
Oh yeah, it was an absolute pleasure. And my work's been crazy with the business, so I'm glad I got to be on here today. And the rotation should go back to what we originally thought with like Jake, Brett, me, or whatever the thing's gonna go for the Bills side. And then I mean, you guys have been phenomenal. Keep doing your thing. Guys, if you guys haven't yet, not you guys, but people watching, subscribe to the AFC East Summit. Everybody here knows what they do. Patriots, Dolphins, Jets. Even though the Jets are already in Vegas right now celebrating the Super Bowl, and of course you got Bills Mafia representing. And you know, when you guys like and subscribe, it just makes us able to put out better content and get more engagement. We'd love to have the comment section booming all night, so we can. You guys basically run the show if all the comments are going crazy. But again, thank you guys for tuning in. We're out of here until next week, 8:00. I think it's is it Monday or again or
It'll be Tuesday.
No, okay. So yeah, because we had the Monday trivia. Okay, Tuesday, 8:00. I don't know who will be hosting, but I know these two handsome gentlemen will be there to come out and support. Thank you guys.
Go Fins.
Go Bills.
Pats Nation.